All right, my microphone should be up. And Alex, you want to test on your end?
Testing my
All right.
microphone right now.
It seems like everything looks good. Um, yeah, I don't have my camera on today. Um, I'm just feeling super tired, and you could see it on my face. I'm like, I don't want people to see that on my face. Oh, it's just the joys of life. Um, if you're watching with us, uh, so if you're watching with us, thank you for joining us. It's gonna be interesting chat. I'm excited about this one because I have my particular approach of how I go about introducing people to the game and picking champions and everything. But I'm really curious to the way Alex does it because he does a lot more of these days than I do. I feel like I did a lot during the convention season, but not so much outside of the convention season.
Fair enough.
Yeah. At least you're still doing some of these on tabletop, so yeah.
That's true.
I think that's how things are going. Do we have any announcements we want to say before we jump into this? We got the
Tournament.
yeah. There's the tournament happening this Saturday. So if you are free this Saturday and want to play in some Genesis with the chance of, in the long run potentially making a card that will go into Genesis, come join us on Saturday. Start collecting those points. So that's happening this week. We got the game design lecture on Friday. There is
Calling it lecture just makes
yeah.
it sound
so
much
formal,
more.
right? So formal. I always wanted to be a teacher. I don't know if you knew that. Like I grew up being like I wanted to be a teacher practically my entire life until my last year of university, and I realized it's just so much like there's so much more money in going into computer science. Like becoming a developer, there's just so much more money. So did the computer science thing for a while, and then ended up in designing the game and doing this. So anyways, so lecture does make me feel like a teacher. It makes me happy. So I'm sticking my tongue out at you. um, and then the game design thing on Friday. Thursday, I want to give a shout out to North of Exile that does their live stream, catch people up on new products and things that are happening, along with giving out prizes. So if you want to win some Genesis prizes, they do have those going around. And then Mondays, yesterday, I guess we missed it, was the Meta Monday, where Will from our community is doing a lot of great work trying to figure out what does the meta of Genesis look like. So I know we have Steven and Darren. Hey, thanks for joining us as always. Super psyched to have you. And then Rob and Daniel, both newer to the game. I think Daniel may have been the one who was asking about the bunnies, but no, I think I had his name noted down somewhere. It was Jeffrey. But
Okay.
regardless, for Rob and Daniel, I think this is going to be a really good talk because this will help you when you start getting the game and at your store, trying to figure out which champion you want to play with. This is going to be something you want to reference. So the first
or
part,
it'd be terrible for them.
or it would be absolute horrible. We know nothing about this game, right? You got the lead game designer and the creator of the game talking about it. We know nothing. Oh man, we have so much confidence in ourselves. No, it's Darren. There was this guy Jeffrey on Facebook asking if we're gonna be talking about Bunny Deck today and making a affiliation list deck. And we're gonna talk about those things briefly. Hopefully he joins in. When he does, let us know, and we will be talking about those things and giving our opinions on it. But let's start with the big question that I think every new player has when they jump into this game is there's 12 champions right now. We know that in the future there'll be more. How do I figure out which champion to play with? And it's a big question. It's a very loaded question. But if someone came up to you and said, "I'm just starting to play this game, who should I play with?" What is your answer?
My starting starting answer is don't play Rain. I know she looks awesome. I know. Her art's the best. Just trust me. Don't play Rain. If you did the
It's so
first
true.
one, you did the G, you did-
It's so true. I say the same thing. You know when I discovered that? It was actually when I did the open house at your store. What was that? Oh, what was your old store called? Hobby Studios.
Obviously, yeah.
And it was we did the open house and so many people want to play Rain. And I was like, no, this is gonna backfire so bad. And then every open house we did, so Steven, I fell into the Rain trap when I started. Yeah, Rain it's a trap. Rain looks absolutely amazing and is a really good champion, but it's a trap. It is definitely a trap. So, yeah, I totally agree. Don't play with Rain if it's your very first deck, very first time playing the game. So,
Let's go into more positive. What should you play? And
Okay.
if it is ultimately your first game, you should play a summoner.
Summoner, eh?
A summoner.
I
And
agree.
I'm gonna tell you why, Sid.
Okay.
Now, if I was gonna say we're gonna play a game, Sid, and it's normally a 1v1 game, my champion versus champion, and your champion, or we could play a 1v8 game.
Okay. I see. It does. So, who are your main champions in out of these 12?
Do you mean for summoners?
Yeah, for summoner.
So you can play Erica easily. You can play Long easily. Now I'm gonna put Idris out here, even though she's not specifically a summoner. But that's actually gonna be probably part of my next quote. Is just really powerful champions. Weirdly enough, I've seen, just because I've seen Stark do it, Odara is starting to come out. I am actually not a fan of Odara. I think she's very squishy, but if Stark can make it work, I don't know.
Hey, yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Core would be the only summoner probably not pulled down because they're not directly like obviously a summoner.
And
that
again,
make sense?
Core I think is a trap in a way. Any of
Anything
these,
in Sahara.
yeah, any
is-
of these
is a
Axon
trap.
Chaos champions are very much excuse me. The artwork on like Core and Rain, absolutely gorgeous, and Kendra is so mysterious. People want to learn so much about her. This affiliation combo of Axon and Chaos, the card pool is so weird. And mastering it takes so much time. You got to really be the person who is willing to persevere and keep on failing and trying again to figure out how to play with that affiliation combination.
All right,
So-
I figured out everything.
Okay.
out everything.
All right.
All right. So you got Nubia. This is S tier, but don't do it. This is my warning. If you are starting the game, do not play with Nubia because you will do well. And I know that doesn't make sense, but trust me, once you start playing with Nubia, it is hard to play other champions.
Yes.
For the two new players here, trust me that the power level of Nubia and the consistency of Nubia is so strong that if you start here, it will be hard to backtrack.
Yep. It's funny because literally Darren writes, "Don't play Nubia," unpopular opinion, and then right underneath that, Steven writes, "Starting off, Nubia isn't so much a trap as she is learning on a crutch or developing an addiction." Like literally what you're saying, the two experienced players in the chat are saying the exact same thing, and I completely agree. Like if you come in starting to play with Nubia, it takes so much effort to try to play with someone else and start being good with them.
Yeah.
It is difficult. Now, I mean, you started with Nubia, didn't you? No, you started with Idris, didn't you?
Idris was my first, yeah. And then I started with Idris without you need to tell me anything. We just played the demo. This is our game. I
Yeah.
went, give me product right now. You went, what? And then I took it home, built a deck, came back, played the deck, and you went, oh, you built the old Idris Scorpion deck, eh? And I went, what's that? And then you went, yeah, a whole bunch of people play this style of deck. And then I went, okay, what don't they play? And you're like, huh? Nobody really plays Nubia. She seems everybody thinks she sucks. And I went, Really? Let me get back to you on this. And then I came back and just started to destroy people.
Now, here's the thing: why Nubia was very challenging to play with in those days was mainly just the card pool, like the accessibility to the cards you need to make Nubia excel and be in that S tier, the Super Saiyan champion type of thing. Um, those cards were not as plentiful as they are now. When there was only 8 angels in circulation, and a lot of them were locked behind sealed booster packs or still, it was hard to make a Nubia angel deck. Like, that just didn't exist. But yeah, Idris, Giant Scorpions, they were uncommon originally, and her power level, it's just right off the bat, you start your opponent on a clock. They're getting hit for 2 every single turn, no matter where they are. So, yeah, I think Idris is definitely a fun starting point. I don't know about Erica because so much newer to the game. And since her debut, we haven't had a lot of conventions or open houses and stuff like that. So, don't know how that really looks for brand new players. But
So I started Darren on Erica.
yeah.
So that was Darren's, I think, realistically first champion starting out. And Darren quickly got hold of it. I'm getting used to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Darren's in the chat.
Yeah.
Darren can say yay or nay.
Long's an interesting choice. For people who haven't seen, don't know my playstyle very much, Long is one of my favorite champions. Like, I don't know why it's so bizarre because in other games, I do not play champions like Long, but in Genesis, it just works so well for me. So I think with Ray's cards, I would pitch Long as a potential starting champion.
For me, Long is just overlooked for almost all experienced champion players. I actually believe.
Yeah.
And I somewhat proved that in a more recent tournament. I brought Long in and smashed people.
Yeah. He is no longer a long shot.
But from my summoners, immediately the next tier is fighters.
Yeah.
Because they're fun.
Yeah.
They're fun to play fighters. However, remember how I talked about summoners? Fighters fall to summoners. And that's where the summoner thing comes back in.
Yeah.
Because if you're a fighter versus a wave of summons, it is so hard to win there. But the best summon fighter deck to play for new players, toss decks. It's so fun to just throw people around.
Yep, and Fong's probably the best for that.
Yeah, Fong toss deck is usually my go-to fighter to start new players.
Yeah.
You then have the classic Raha and Malik that are just sort of they're staple. They're solid.
Yes.
They're good, and they're like easy to understand.
Yeah.
Kun is an interesting one. I don't think I've ever started a new player on a Kun, so I don't really have experience. But I've just sort of put it in here with the fighters.
Yeah.
And and while we've been talking, I've moved Odara down a tier list.
Oh, Dara. So my perspective is a little bit different. I always try to gather what the player's experience is before they start playing Genesis. If you're coming in from a Magic background, I definitely want to start you off as a summoner. Because Magic plays very much like a summoner plays. You as a planeswalker are behind your line of summons that you're sending out to attack your opponent. Unless you're playing control or some of those other styles, summoner is very much gonna be in your wheelhouse straight off the bat. The champion does not need to move. You can place your summons in front of you and just march them forward. If you and that's even more so for almost any other TCG, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. If you're playing from those sets, starting from a summoner is definitely a solid position. Now, if you're coming in from okay, we do one convention in Canada, EGLX, the Enthusiastic Gamer Expo, Live Expo or something like that. And a lot of times we get people who are coming in from Dota, League of Legends, those type of games. And when they're coming in from that space, I very much like starting them with fighters.
Makes sense.
Because they want to engage in the combat. They want to just run in and start punching your opponent. I love the intro decks of having Malik versus Raha. It, it do, Why does my phone keep making sounds? You gotta not make sounds anymore. So the advantage I have with teaching people about Raha, with Raha and Malik is right off the bat you get into some of the complexities about awareness with Raha. You get into energy reduction, and you get into the appreciation of aura. Otherwise, if you play as, to say, Nubia or Erica, you may not appreciate how finite aura is in your first few games. That's if I'm really trying to push the players.
That's true. Yeah.
Steve says, Kun as a fighter is fun, but tricky due to his HP. He's quite agile, but needs swift card support to do well as a no summon fighter. Yeah, if I'm introducing the game, a big thing I've learned from teaching the game, you don't want to give people a starting deck with very little summons. People want their summons. It doesn't matter if you're starting them off with Malik or you're starting them off with Idris or Nubia. You got to put in a good 50% of your deck should be summons. But okay, so they're brand new to the game. Just say they figured out their champion, or is there more we need to talk about when it comes to breaking down the champions?
For very start, I don't think so. I think that's the simplistics of it.
Okay, Daniel, I'm from Dragon Ball and HeroClix. I like Malik. Yeah, Malik's really cool, really solid. I think we're starting to see a bit more appreciation for Malik now. It's definitely challenging. It's a bit of an uphill battle with him. I think you'll see a lot more appreciation for Malik when the next more main set comes out. And then you'll see some really cool support coming out from Malik. But if you love Malik, go for it. I think that is the one thing that trumps everything, though, is having passion and love for the champion is very important. Because then you're willing to explore the nuances and deep dive. I've seen some people, like Lionel, he plays Fong really well. I do not. And it's just straight off the bat, I'm not a huge fan of Fong. I love her in her storyline. I love who she is as a person. But the champion card, her ability, her stats, they don't resonate with me. So because of that, I already walk in with a bit of a bias, and that shows in my gameplay. But I love playing a champion like Raha, and I do really well with Raha, despite having a really powerful deck behind it. So I think resonating with the champion does have an impact. But that's... I don't know if Alex agrees with that.
No. I do agree with that. You gotta like what you're playing.
Yeah.
And I think that's why so many people see Ray and they're like, I like this, and then they want to play it.
Yeah. Like you see Rain, I don't know. So I remember when we were doing the pitching the ideas for Rain. Rain was originally gonna have a sword, and I was like, no, we gotta do something cooler, something more unique. And then me being into Ninja Turtles, Raphael, you got the size, and just everything about Rain coming together. She's so awesome. So if you're willing to put in the time and effort to master her, she is so good of a champion. Like, it's amazing. I love playing with Rain, but it takes a lot of effort to master. Okay, moving on. They figured out their champion. Next, we want to talk about how do you start? Like, where would you suggest people start when it comes to building their deck?
Looking at the cards they own.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Sort your cards into the affiliations.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first step. And then you realistically just go from there. If you have your champion, you then just put your piles of the two affiliated piles, and you start pulling your best cards. Once you've sorted your best cards, fill your chi to be 250, and there's your deck.
Yeah. I recommend, especially for newer players, go with some variety. Don't try to go for depth in a particular card. Go for some more breadth and find which card you enjoy playing with. Because this is one thing that I find more and more I play with as I play Genesis. Um, Two people can take the exact same card, and one person can be way better playing it than the next person. And you think that that nuance would apply only on really difficult or hard to master cards, but no, it goes as low as baboons. Let's pull them out. The Baboon Spider, which is my preferred 3 chi. And then what's your preferred 3 chi? The fire.
Any 2-1 fire cub, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one you talk about the most. Let me find Baboon Spider here.
I got my fire cub.
And there's Baboon Spider. So, Fire Cub, 6 aura, 1 health, 2 fire attack at 3 chi. And Baboon Spider, 3 chi, 6 aura, exact same amount of aura. But Baboon Spider has 2 health instead of 1 and has the range attack. Range attack 1. And Baboon Spider, I love this card. Like, this is my ideal 3 chi summon. It's just so versatile. It's able to hit flyers. So in the case that you're fighting against something like Death's Companion or Angel Retribution, this can at least help you in those cases. So I will take this over Fire Cub if I'm playing in those 2 affiliations. But Alex will pick Fire Cub. And you want to explain why? Like, why do you
For
go...
me, it's the 2 damage might be life or death to me for winning the game.
Yeah. Like, for you, my understanding, it's a lot more about damage output, right? You want to make sure that you're paying 6 aura. You want to be able to hit for 2 once successfully.
Yeah.
Compared to on the off chance that your opponent has a flyer, having this summon being able to only hit that flyer for 1. Right?
Correct. Yeah. My other concept is if I'm building my deck correctly, I'm going to have a specific card to deal with flyers, where it's more like you have multiple cards to assist in the potential that there's flyers.
Yeah. So even as low as our 3 chis, our vanilla summons, the most basic cards in the game, given a particular situation, I'm gonna play with Baboon Spider a little bit more effectively than Alex probably. I'm speculating, and vice versa with the Fire Cup. And it's just preference, like understanding the cards and being able to manipulate. There are other cards that are just straightforward. Everyone does well with these cards. Things like Tsunami and Bullshot. Everyone does well with, but I think there is some nuance with a card like Tsunami. Oh, there's some scratching coming in from your end.
Yeah, I'm cutting out a little bit here and there.
Okay. Yeah, your ping on tabletop gets kind of high at times. But yeah.
Another thing about the 3 chis and stuff like that, not only playing it, but it also is knowing when to put it in your deck. So here's a card that we're talking about understanding and knowing a card. This is actually a card that I do not understand. I do not know when to put it in my deck. I may not even know how to properly play it. I was holding it.
Yep.
And it's one of the most simplistic cards in the game.
And it's so surprising to me because you run so many pressure points and shutdowns, which I think are just infinitely more complex than left hook. But
the simplicity of left hook makes it complex.
No, that's very true. Like for me, I look at left hook, I'm like, I would never run this in a Fong or Malik deck. Like if I'm playing Fong or Malik, why would I need a 3 chi that does damage, right? I'd rather run a summon. But the place where I love left hook is in an Idris or a Long deck, and it's so counterintuitive because they don't have any energy reduction. You have to pay the full cost for them. But this card it thrives so well in those decks. So no, I completely get it. Like every single card, I never appreciated how good Shutdown was until I saw other people play it. then I decided to run in my deck, and I was like, no, I just want more left hooks. So, no, I completely agree. I think every card has its nuance, and every card resonates with different players at different times. Um, so, play with every card a little bit. Now, Alex and I have done past videos on some of the worst cards in Genesis. Go watch those videos. Don't waste your time with those 20 cards. Like, yeah,
I did feel bad. I think there was one point where a new player was trying to defend one of those cards.
yeah,
And it's like, you just gotta know. No, it's bad. It's bad. Just don't play it. Trust me. I have the experience. So I know, and I need you to trust me in this instance. And if you don't trust me, that's fine. Play it. And that's the other thing I think you were talking about and I forgot to speak up was when you build your deck, play your deck and refine it.
yes,
That's the real goal about playing multiple different cards. It's about refining it.
yeah. So Alex and I both have a lot of history playing other collectible card games. And there's the concept out there for other card games called net decking, where you just go online, you find someone else's deck, you copy it card for card, and then you play it. I know that that will exist in Genesis, and I'm not trying to say otherwise, but I do have a strong feeling that even if you net deck someone's deck, it does not mean you're going to perform with it as well as they do. And I have the experience of trying to play with my brother's Idris Giant Scorpion deck, and we would swap decks, and he would just do better with it than I could ever. Just the way his mind works, and I don't know. That's my sentiment. I don't. How do you feel, Alex? Do you think that that's similar, or
About swapping decks?
no? About net decking. Do you think? Just say we have the meta list out there. Do you think two?
Oh, I disconnected. Time
Oh, yeah.
Spinning.
This again. So when it comes to net decking and the idea of just looking up a card list.
Okay,
So
I'm gonna lose you for a second. I'm gonna switch my internet. It actually
Okay.
switched to my worst internet. That's what happened.
Oh.
Here.
Okay. So I'll just randomly start talking to the audience a little bit. Hey everyone. Gotta jump into the chat here. Your
Hello, hello.
Hey, you're back.
Test test.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Alex? I don't know if you can hear us. So Steve, you're saying that my phone may be pinging every time someone puts something out on Facebook. Yeah, that was happening. There was so many pings that were coming out. Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, can you hear? Hello, Alex?
Hello. Hello.
Hey, I'm guessing you still can't hear me.
I can hear you now.
Okay, cool.
Cable is back up.
Perfect. Hey, who's joining us? Naughty
Oh, it went down again.
112. We actually have quite a few people who are watching. Thank you for joining. So we're just having some issues with tabletop and the internet and things like that, but we're still trying to keep out the few chats. So basically, very few meta decks for Genesis are not autopilot friendly. I could give anyone my angel deck, but they could play with it completely different than me. Yes, Steve, that was very much my point. I don't think that decks in Genesis are particularly like autopilot. They're just you're going to get the deck, you're going to try running with it for a little while, and it takes practice. It takes a lot of practice to know the nuances of deck because of the tactical element, because of the fact that cards aren't just play and they succeed. There is a lot of little nuances, a lot of little movements that you got to make to figure out the value. So practicing with a variety of different cards, figuring out what works for you is probably the best approach. Hey Alex, did you get the table up again?
Cable is back up. Yep.
Okay, let's see if we can find it this time. Same name?
Same name, same cap.
Alright, cool. Everyone who's watching just got to see the password. It's not there. Oh no!
My bank.
Okay. So continuing on from the conversation, now how much do you think affiliations matter when it comes to design? Like, is it more important to find a champion that you enjoy playing with, or is it more important to find affiliation matches that you enjoy playing with?
So that is, I think, more of a personal choice. So I have built decks around cards, and I've built decks around champions.
Hmm.
So it really ends up depending on how you are building your deck. So if you buy a bunch of cards and you pull a lot of the same cool card, you're like, I'm gonna build a deck around this. Then that's how you're gonna do it. And then you build your deck, and then you pick the best champion that can fuel that deck.
Yeah. Like, oh, Alex's volume is super low. Yes. Let me. So just to reiterate, it really does come down to, are you building for a champion or for a card? And I'm glad that you kind of put it that way, because that is very much how I saw the game coming about. Is there are times where you want to design for a particular card. So I pulled up Bolt Shot because that's a very popular card, and if you have yourself a lot of Bolt Shots and you're trying to um, optimize on that card, then yeah, it's gonna be really. It's not too hard to optimize around Bolt Shot, but there are some decks that work better than others.
That's
Uh,
true.
yeah, and then so let's take a card. I think a good example of a card that a lot of people, once they get a few copies of, they want to try building a deck around is Malfeasance.
Yeah.
And so where
Yep.
is wonderful Malfeasance? Here it is. So Malfeasance, 8 chi. So this is your top end card that you're trying to put into the deck. Action speed, 22 aura. Target champion and Malfeasance awareness reveals the top card of their timeline and then sends it to their memories. They lose X life, and you gain X life, where X is equal to the revealed card's chi. So with Malfeasance, if you guys sell 3, 4 of these, you may want to try to build a deck around this. And then it's figuring out what nuance, what strategy you're trying to do, and then maybe find a champion that works within that strategy. Now, one thing we do try our best to do is when we're making the art for a card, we pick a champion who we do think is best suited for that card. So maybe there's someone out there who will make a Malfeasance deck around Rain or Core or Idris, but I do think Kendra Malfeasance is probably the best.
I would agree. Recently seen a. Huh?
Recent.
Apparently, no one can hear me.
No audio. Sometimes this.
Apparently, Coletta's watching and she cannot hear me.
OBS says that your sound's fine.
Chat, can you guys hear me? Hello, hello.
Yeah, I'm
Guess I'll
seeing
pull up my
the
own.
volume bar work in OBS.
Pulling up Facebook.
It's better now, according to Darren. A little better.
Okay. A little better, okay. Test, test. Bring my mic a little closer.
Alright. Yep. Okay. So, going back to Malfeasance, like, we do try to pick cards, pick champions on the artwork that we think are best suited for this card. Now, we don't always hit it. I think Puppet Control is an example of a card where, I mean, you're very rarely gonna play that with Kendra. One that was actually beautifully dead on was Shadowclaw.
Yup.
Shadowclaw Rain using against Nubia. Like, this card's artwork like really depicts this perfectly. Bullshot, the Raha Bullshot deck, like, and then even like Idris and Meteorite. Like, a lot of times, if you have a card that you're trying to build around, look at the artwork. Maybe that will start with some inspiration. But what is another card that you think people build around often?
Just any card?
Yeah. What are some of the cards that you think people tend to try to
Build around cards. You got your Necrolich, you got your Angel Retribution. You got my personal one is Tsunami.
Call to the Bones. I think it's pretty
Call to
popular.
Bone. Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. I guess you could say Epiphany.
So, Baruch.
Baruch's a good one. Yeah.
Put mentions that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Scorpion.
Yeah, Baruch and Giant Scorpion. Giant Scorpion's classic. So a lot of these, I think the commonality in all these is they have one key edge element about them that's very unique for that card. Your audio is still very like scratchy.
Yay.
So there's some key element that you're trying to build around when it comes to them. Epiphany, the draw 3 cards, that's just an amazing value add. Anyone who has any TCG experience knows drawing 3 cards is just super powerful. Giant Scorpion, that awareness is very key when it comes to building around that. And then Baruch, Blitz. Blitz and that output of damage, I think, are the 2 factors that really make that card solid to play. Necrolich, when it's a 2-for-1. It enters the arena, you take a summon with Chief 5 or less from your memories and just put it into play adjacent to Necrolich. This card, it's just the value out of being able to build an army so quickly. Call to the Bone, same thing, about building an army very quickly. This gives you 3 Skeleton Warriors out of 1 card. Tsunami, it's that damage output to everything in Tsunami's awareness is pretty intense. And then finally, Angel, just the flight aerial and the large stats. I mean, we even see, parallel to Tsunami, we see Landslide. And
true.
With Angel, you see Death's Companion.
Yeah.
And both those 2 cards are also for the very same reasons. It's a lot about the damage output, the awareness when it comes to Tsunami, and then when it comes to the Angel, it's the flight and aerial, which is just so powerful. So, building around the decks, I think it's very much like other TCGs. It's you find the cards, you find the card you want to build around, you find the auxiliary cards to synergize with it, and then you find a champion that works with the entire deck. It's basically the reverse process, I would say. Where if I'm building around a champion, it's all about trying to synergize around what is that champion's core abilities, and how do I optimize their use all the time. Alright, so I think that really does leave us with, well, I'll make sure I put this out there. If you have any questions, anything you want us to cover when it comes to the deck building, and advice for people who are just new to deck building, let us know and we can cover it. But let's jump into some of the stuff Jeffrey was asking about. The All Rabbit deck.
All Rabbit deck. I've already prepped, so luckily
Nice.
I didn't have to prep for the All Rabbit deck because I have an All Rabbit deck already.
Nice.
Now this is my special. This is a very special deck to me because it actually is 2 things about it. This is my only deck in existence that runs 249 sheets.
Really? You didn't hit the full 250, eh?
Correct. And I did not find the cards I want that were. Oh, what can I grab? There we go. I'm gonna throw the. Why can I? It's gonna be difficult to grab. So this deck is a very simple deck, and when I say it's very simple, it's extremely simple. There's a whole 2 different cards in the deck.
What do you mean by 2 different cards? Like literally just 2 different cards?
Literally 2 different cards. So give me a second. I'm just cleaning up the deck, and I will surprise everybody with excitement and power of the deck. Okay, I think I have sorted the deck. So right here above Malik is 33 cards, and this is the main of the deck. 33 Decoy Rabbit.
Decoy Rabbit. Darren asks if he can
The
have
other
the
one
bunny
is just
deck.
a dork.
The cub.
It's just a 2/1 dork. But so what this deck does is one of my tester decks. So essentially, I have a certain deck that when I make a new deck, the bare minimum that new deck has to do is beat these decks. So literally, the Malik Decoy Rabbit deck double moves until it gets into your face and activates heavy attack every single turn. And when you try to kill it, it decoys rabbits. And that is it. That is the whole deck. And it surprisingly wins a lot.
Interesting.
Now, let's go on a more serious side. Let's see if I have the long deck. I talked about in the last tournament deck that I ran, the one that won was the long deck, Love You Long Time. And that ran rabbits. Now, I know Sid was like, why are these rabbits in this deck? And I think the rabbits were great. Let's see if I have this on me. But I do believe that the rabbits that jump and deal 3 damage are actually real good, are actually decent cards. This is a 4 cheat card that deals 3 damage for 6 aura? 5 aura?
I think
you know what it is? I do not, unless I saved it into old decks. Love You Long Time. Here it is. Love You Long Time deck. Yeah, you got pull. So this deck, one, I think the most recent. No, I think it was 2 standard tournaments ago.
Yeah.
And it ran the Lineman Rabbit in the 4 chi slot. And one of the big things is people aren't used to playing against it. And it's just a unique card. And that another card that a lot of people just aren't used facing is Enraged Gorilla. But I'm getting off topic. I probably don't. I'm not even gonna. I don't know why I'm showing much of this deck because we're not gonna bother with this. That's not what this is about. We're moving all this. But Lineman Rabbit, solid rabbit. You definitely can do something with this, and there are some tricks like picking it up and throwing it at people when it's already at 1 life. You can do some shenanigans with it. A little spoiler is, if you like rabbits, prepare for next set. Then there'll be a rabbit to build really around.
Yeah. I think the big thing here is, this is one of those initiative that's just driven by the fans, right? Like, it's the people who play the game. They really fell in love with rabbits, and we just kept on pushing it. And it's hilarious in a lot of its awesomeness. Like, we have the Ajna rabbit, the decoy rabbit. Now we have the Vadhis. Well, it's kind of Vadhis rabbit. I mean, it's stacking Raha. But, and then, we'll move to different areas and different ways to kind of express this. But I think as long as the community is having a lot of enjoyment with the rabbits, I see no reason to ever stop, like, having silly little rabbits and jokes towards rabbits. They're awesome. And it all started with JC and his obsession with Decoy Rabbit, and then other people just kept on mentioning the rabbits. There were a lot of really great humorous artwork for Decoy Rabbit. I love the one we have with Fong and Rain, because, well, one of the things I love the most is that the rabbit has a ponytail, like Fong. And I just think that's hilarious. But at the end of the day, like, it makes no sense. Like, literally, like, the rabbit's right beside Fong. Fong's still gonna get hit. Like, it makes no sense. So, I just love the absurdity of it. Like, it's just, in a game that takes itself so seriously at times, it's great to have these moments of just comical relief, right? So,
yeah.
Now, do the rabbits always need to stay in Thymos?
That's the question, right? That is the question.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how the future has, but more rabbits we'll enjoy. And then the other question is, could you make a deck that does not play with any of the affiliation cards?
You can. In fact, I made 3 decks with 3 different concepts, and I have labeled them Jalarian Masterpieces. So here we go, is Jalarian Masterpiece Part 1.
That's pretty intense.
Now, you don't get many options right now with the amount of sets. There's a whole 17 cards to pull from. And there's not much to say about it. It's a masterpiece. We don't need to go into depth much here, but you play some tarantulas, and then you got some other cards. That's all I got for this one.
The one thing that's kind of interesting about this is this does set your deck up to be both pretty aggressively offensive and pretty decently defensive. Because you can drop the spiders behind you to protect yourself, and if you're ever getting in the way of your spiders, you can sidestep out of the way, allowing the spiders to kind of make their way in. No, yeah. I like it. I enjoy it. Now, why Idris?
I would say that the other ones have more specifically chosen champions. I think you could choose a lot of champions for this deck. This deck would do pretty decently. I think just the power that Idris puts out just by herself balances out the deck's simplicity.
All right.
As summons, like if their opponent plays big summons, you can fireball them down to the point where your spiders can take them out easily. If your opponent just sits back, you can just keep fireballing them until they have to come forward. I just think Idris is a very powerful champion.
That's fair. Colette, is it possible to make foil sparkly cards? One day we'll get nice foils into the game. Right now, it's all about budgeting, balancing the budget between putting in those new flashy features and also producing a game that's just high quality. Like, this is a whole other side topic, but it's something I hear a lot about when I watch content creators, is we do have to remember that we're making a game. And I know, so, it's a big thing. And I'll love to dig into it a little bit more. Let's get to these other decks, and then I'll jump back to that comment.
All right. Yeah. Masterpiece number 2. This one is a sweet one, for very easy to wrap your head around it.
Dragons!
Now, Nubia here has 150 aura, which means you can play 5 dragons. So it's simple. Draw 5 dragons and play them. I don't think there is a better champion to play for this, because you want that extra draw to draw into more Zambra Dragons. Now, if those 5 Zambra Dragons can't do it, well, I guess your secondary game plan is left hooks for the victory.
Yeah. Steve's like Dragon Punch deck, and it just like makes me think of Falcon Punch, but instead of Falcon Punch, it's Dragon Punch. Yeah, this one makes sense to me.
All right, and our last and final masterpiece, which this one, it's boom.
Punch, toss.
Yes.
Yep.
Do you know what? Maybe you don't even need Fong for this. I chose Fong because I'm like, well, you're playing a lot of energy stuff. But at the end of the day, these are very cheap energies.
Yeah, if anything, I'd look for someone with 1 energy reduction, maybe even Malik.
Or go OTK.
You could.
No, I agree. Malik would be probably a solid choice.
Because the thing is that
because these only cost 11 aura. These cost nothing.
Yeah, the nice part about Malik in this build would be getting your ants to your opponent, tossing your opponent towards you so you can heavy punch them.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Or tossing you towards your opponent, right? Either or way, someone's getting tossed.
Yeah.
I like
these are budget decks. Excluding the Zambra Dragon one, the first deck, this deck. Let me look at this. Let me do a little quick calculation. maybe $10 at the most.
Yeah, yeah. And now, I'm just gonna move this to the side here. Looking at the cards in J. Lara, there are actually some pretty decent pieces. So these are more mediocre. This is kind of on the bad side. Like the one thing that I really enjoy about the cards in J. Lara is that we see a lot of these show up in competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So Zamper Dragon we don't see in competitive.
Yep.
But and Sidestep is one that I think people want to see in competitive, but it doesn't show up. Breath of J. Lara, Left Hook, River Nye, and Urticating. I've seen all these in competitive.
Yep.
And
fair.
that's the thing. Once you've picked your champion and you are starting to build your deck, you really once you have your pool, your selected pool of like these are the cards I can build with, it doesn't matter if it's a J. Lara card, if it's a Bellum card, or if it's a Thymos card, or whatever your affiliations are. At the end of the day, they're just cards. When it goes to deck building, you just care about chi at that point. The affiliation filters your pool of cards. Your chi builds your deck. And when you're comparing 2 6 chis, like if you're not playing Thymos and you need a ranged summon, well, Urticating Tarantula is amazing. And there are even rare, very, very rare situations, but there are rare situations where I've picked Urticating Tarantula over Giant Scorpion. But there's... It's just a very solid summon. River Nye's great if you're playing a summoner. Like, these cards... The cards themselves are not being penalized or given an advantage for being in an affiliation or not. Because once you start building your deck, you're just building it. And 2 6Gs need to be comparable. So, yeah, I would say as the card pool grows for J. Lara, yeah, there's going to be more and more opportunities to make pure J. Lara based decks. Now, why would you ever do that? I have no idea. If you want to have a deck where you, like, any of your masterpiece stacks, actually, I think the best one would probably be the last one you showed, the Punch Punch Toss deck. In there, you could just take all 12 champions, shuffle them up, tell your opponent to pick one at random, be like, this is the one I'm playing with. And then your deck just works with that new one, right?
True.
But outside of doing something gimmicky like that, there's no value. I don't see any value. Cool. Yeah, I think that's all the stuff I wanted to cover directly in here. Going back to something Colette said about the foils. I think something... So, this is something you and I can talk about and enjoy the live stream while we do it. Something that's happened a lot during COVID, and leading up to COVID even, is that I found a lot of games move towards shiny, flashier type of elements in their game. Things like... Wait, is my battery getting low? I think my computer's battery is getting a little low. Yeah. I got 18 minutes. We're good. So they started going towards these more flashier type of elements in their games. Foils, borderless, and all those type of things. I don't want to spend most of our time critiquing other games. I want to bring it back to the general principles of game design. Now, my concept, first and foremost, is that we're making a game. Let's make a game that's really great. Now, how necessary do you think it is when it comes to pushing those other elements of the game? Like the collectability in it?
Are you asking me or are you asking Colette?
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you. I'm talking to you.
For some reason, I thought you were asking the audience.
No. I would love to hear in the chat from the audience, but I'm asking you, like, from your perspective, playing collectible card games, you have more experience than I do. What Do you?
I, I'll start with my personal perspective,
Yeah.
and then I'll go from what I've seen. For me, I do not care about the shiny.
Okay.
Now, when I pull a shiny in a pack, do enjoy and love that. But I am not the type of person when there is a 5-cent card and there's $100 card, I do not go out of my way to buy the $100 card.
Yeah.
Now, however, having owned a store and seen the different games, there are many people who do care about having the foils. Fully blinging out their deck is a, I don't know what to call it, but that's what they love. That's what they love to do. They have to have those $100 cards. Why? I don't know. Am I gonna stop them from buying it? No.
That's fair. That's fair. Like, I see them as like. Now, I agree. I don't want to take away from anyone's joy and experience, and if that's the thing that you would really love when it comes to the games you play, then great. At the end of the day, if you're having fun with your game, that's the thing that matters the most. But I come from this same space as you. Like I enjoy getting the flashy things. Like I remember taking it from another space, like when you played. So I don't know if you played Street Fighter Alpha 3, I think it was, where they introduced Evil Ryu, and then you got to the certain point where you could unlock the costume for regular Ryu to be dressed up as though he looked like Evil Ryu. And that was just something I loved doing. Like it didn't add any value to the game. It was just fun to do. But I wouldn't. I don't feel like I would spend money to buy that costume. If I could.
So what I'm hearing, Sid, is we are gonna figure out the technology that the more people play, they will unlock alternate skins for the cards they already exist. They will just change at your house.
I think I think the big focus of the game design team should be developing the game, right? That's the part that I'm trying to say is that like the game should come first, and that's been a big philosophy starting in beta. We didn't have foils. We just got some foils as promo cards more recently with raids, and that was purely because people requested it. But even Rays, if you open up a pack of Rays, you're not going to get any foils in there. But I think the game itself, the quality of the game has increased pretty dramatically, going from Welcome to JLR to Rays. And doubly so when we go from Rays to Origins. So I think, I don't know, it's such a debate out there these days, and I don't want people to hopefully one day we go down the path of getting foils, and we can do all those fun, fancy things that other card games have. But I never want to compromise the quality of the gameplay experience itself to have more of the chase factor in the game. And so Steve's commenting. Oh, so Darren, there are foil promo cards. Yes, the foil promo champions exist, and those are going out to Patreon members who are at the second tier or higher. And then Steven says adding the rare cards like foils and alt art cards are for the people who still love the game but also want that extra mini game that they know a much smaller audience is chasing. And I agree. I think that's fine. I think there is something in there. Like, we added the epic cards in there for a reason. I don't want that to detract from the actual gameplay experience. So I think that's something that I want to put out there for the community to hold us accountable to, is we should also be held accountable to continuously deliver a good game while still increasing the experience of the collectability, the chase factor, the things that make a TCG a TCG. But we should also be held accountable to always be making a good game. It should never. So okay, here, unlike some other games, I'd prefer those cards to chase should never keep people from being able to collect and compete due to an ultra rare paywall. Um, I agree with that, and this is where the balance comes in. So, all right, cool. I think that kind of hits us on time. Um, just
Yeah.
transitioning over to the thank you screen. So thank you to all our Patreon supporters. I want to put that out there. To everyone who's watching, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was, despite having technical issues and whatnot, I still very much enjoyed this, and it was definitely a good chat. If you have ideas, like if you're watching this right now, you have ideas for things Alex and I should talk about next week and the week after, let us know. Most of the times, it's us trying to figure out what to talk about. So if you have something you want us to talk about, let us know. And oh, Alex, do you want to give some parting thoughts on that topic of the gameplay experience?
No, you're already wrapping up.
That's fair. That's fair. I just wanted to give you that opportunity. There's one more comment that came in. Yeah, from Naughty112. Yeah, the game needs to be the focus. You can see across different industry, focus is on extra fluff to draw interest or hype, or collectible, and many games have suffered because of this. Yeah, so I'm leaving it to you, the audience, the people who play this game. Hold us accountable to always be making good sets every step of the way. Reminder, we got the tournament happening this Saturday, so if you want to register, please go over to the Genesis website under events. You should be able to find the tournament and register for there. That's happening on Saturday. Friday, we're going to be talking about, we got the game design lecture, seminars, whatever you want to call them. Thursday, North of Exiles is doing a live stream. Then next Monday, we got Meta Mondays, and then next Tuesday, we will be doing another one of these live streams. Thank you to everyone who's watching, and we will talk to you in the next live stream. Bye.
Bye.